exclusively on Substack. So welcome. I am so glad you're here. I'll start at the beginning. So I arrived to Substack to write long form, to write in a space where nobody knew me. And now you might feel like that's not possible for you, but it is still sometimes a cue that I give my one-to-one clients and a permission slip that I give my one-to-one clients, because it is a beautiful thing to hear your voice outside of writing for an audience. Like, that is just very, very precious and very, very special. And sometimes without realizing, we've filtered quite a lot of what we might want to say to be more palatable or to be more likable or to be more in service. And we're kind of getting further and further away from what it is that we want to say and what we might want to write about. And there are lots of amazing writers on Substack. There's absolutely no doubt about that. When I joined, it was a platform for writers, so there was a lot of high quality writing. I didn't feel intimidated by that because I wasn't in competition with them. I was just celebrating that they were doing that and I was doing this. And it was really, really lovely to read people's work and to actually get into spaces where you were completely submerged in somebody else's writing. And it wasn't a book, it was on an app on the internet. And I just found that wonderful. So that was a really nice time. So I always have this kind of split focused of Substack for work and then Substack for pleasure. So the reading that I do and that I still do every single day, yes, some of it is part of my job now, but for the most part, reading for pleasure is because I really like reading words, and I like reading them from people that write on Substack. So my tolerance for the stuff that kind of tries to pull us in or sell to us or make us feel less than is very small, because I've been fed so much beautiful material over the last 3 years. So I guess like my first tip for you guys is, when you're curating your reading experience, be really, really conscious and careful about what you want to allow in, because we know what social media is, and Substack has a social media element. And it's actually really nice to come to a space, read your favorite writers, know that there's not going to be adverts flashed up in our faces. We're not going to be kind of having our nervous systems triggered left, right, and all over the place. And we can actually just read for pleasure and have a really, really nice time. It is harder to curate that experience than it once was, but it's still totally possible. I do it. So yeah. So that is the first thing that I wanted to kind of hone in on and let you know that that was definitely my journey. When I was writing on Substack to start with, I turned the paywall on to start with, and I had no idea what I was doing, literally none. I just knew that I was very open to different streams of income. So my background is in festivals and events. I wanted to pivot my work online. I wasn't sure what that was going to look like. I actually published a journal in 2021 and sold that. So I kind of went into product-based business a little bit and kind of played around with that. So I was just very open to being paid and very open to that exchange with money. That kind of like, what does it mean to be properly paid? What does it mean to be scalable on the internet? That just felt very new and curious to me. I knew with the journal, it wasn't scalable because it was me with my 1-year-old at my feet, wrapping things in tissue paper, putting in tea bags, going to the post office, standing in a queue. So there was no scalability in that product-based business. And I knew that in the way that I wanted to deliver it. So I wanted something where I was plugged in and really close to the people that were receiving my work. On Substack, it was just about expression, right? So I suppose you can call them personal essays, but I didn't know. I was just literally bearing my soul, I think, for a little while there. I just wanted to write about what we were experiencing, having given birth in a pandemic, having parented in a pandemic, my husband falling ill with long COVID, and everything that had changed. Our whole lives changed pretty much overnight around that time. Like, my whole industry was on its knees. Nobody really knew whether they had a job anymore, whether they could build a sustainable career. So there was a lot of big emotions going on. There was a lot in our personal lives that felt like it was like a shedding of skin, right? So there was just things falling away, like things that we felt were really secure, like friendships and relationship with family. Things were just falling away. And it was kind of like this opportunity for rebirth in lots of ways. So I found that being able to kind of express some of how I was feeling in Substack land to nobody was just really cathartic, actually. And so when I turned on my paid subscriptions, there was 3 people that paid straight away. And I know all 3 of them in real life. So that felt really beautiful. And it felt like something brand new. So in the spaces of social media, we end up connected to so many people. We'll have like an old boss, someone we once worked for, someone we met on a night out. It's like a big sea of people that maybe are just there because they don't, know how to leave, and we are doing that on social media. We're like, oh, collecting followers, and that's what we do. Just felt really bizarre to me to be on Instagram and to be able to understand what it was that I wanted to say to that amount of diverse people that have kind of collected around my brand, I guess. So on Substack, it felt very different. It felt like I was just building from scratch and I was getting to know who was resonating with my voice at that time. So at that point, I didn't move my newsletter into Substack. I was just very curious about writing long form and using Substack. I just got very geeky about Substack from the off. And then about 6 months in, I decided that I would be brave and move my subscribers in from my newsletter. Now, at that point, there were about 350 of them. I, didn't used to get regular replies. There was maybe like one or two people that would send a reply to those newsletters. They were called Notes from the Sea. And then there was some people that had ended up in that grouping from a funded Facebook ad campaign that I had that felt like, I don't know who these people are. I've never met them before. I just see names. Like, I don't, it just felt very, very alien. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to put them in. I'm going to explain what I'm doing and I'm going to explain who I am in the world, and then I'm going to kind of build from there. So from that point, that felt very brave to say, yes, there is a mix of people that have signed up to receive words from me, to receive emails from me, to receive things that I'm doing in my business and behind the scenes and all of that sort of stuff. So they came in, and then Creatively Conscious was building gently and slowly, and I was really enjoying the work that I was doing there. I remember hitting my first 1,000 subscribers and feeling like I just had a really supportive bunch of people who were interested in hearing from me. They were buying my workshops off platform. Some of them were paying me. It just felt like a really, really nice space. And we were building connections in the comments at that point. We were learning about each other's lives. We were reading each other's work, and out of that 1,000, maybe it was about 30 or 35 people that I felt really connected to. I realized that I couldn't find, and I didn't know anybody that was talking about staying creative with Substack as a platform. So I got very excited about publishing weekly emails called Stay Creative on Substack. And that was a real permission slip for me as a creative who also writes and not a writer. So, and I really wanted to make that differentiation to say, if you've ended up here and you don't feel like a writer, like you're still trying to take permission for being a writer, you can hang out. You can make words come to life here. You can email them out. You can just post them. This is how Substack works. You can put beautiful photographs in if you'd like to. So every time I was writing these emails, I just thought it was a series, right? I thought, it was about a series of 6 emails in service to my community, and they were being shared, and that was really great. And along the same trajectory that I was writing these weekly emails, Substack were making so many changes. It was like somebody just gave them like a pot of like £5 million and were like, go wild, Substack. Because literally week in, week out, there was something new happening with the platform. So it meant that I had lots to write about. And it also meant that I was quite shocked, because we thought we knew what it was, and then it was shifting and changing. And all of those changes felt really good. It felt like we had more tools to, get our work in front of people, and the Substack were very supportive, and they still are. They're very supportive and very front and center now, although the identity's changed quite dramatically since it was built as a platform for writers. So those Stay Creative on Substack emails were doing really well. And I just felt this real energetic shift in terms of these don't belong here. So they did not belong as part of my business and as part of my Substack that is called Creatively Conscious. It's still there today. I still write there weekly. They just didn't belong. They had an energy that was bigger than that. And I had always been curious about starting a membership. My business had kind of group containers before, women's circles, workshops, masterclasses, everything but a membership essentially. And I was really interested in whether this was just something that I should try, right? So I was like, well, if it doesn't work, I do it for a year and then that's that. So I was just very open to seeing how that might feel and be for me. And also if people would want that, right? Because for me at that time, it felt like it was quite obvious how to use Substack. Like once you got past the endless settings page and you'd set yourself up, it was fine. It was easy. But then, things changed more and more and more. And it was like, no, actually, like this is more than that. This is a community of people who want to support each other to grow joyfully, who want to collaborate together, who want to build on something that is really precious to them. They want to understand where it fits within their content and creative ecosystem, within their business ecosystem. There was just so much to say about Substack. So Sparkle on Substack was born June 2023. So coming up, it'll be 2 years in the summer. And I launched it as a membership straight away. And that was really important to me for people to understand. You're not paying for a subscription. You're not paying for writing. You're paying for a membership, right? So that was really important from the off. And people had to trust me that there was going to be something there for them in the way of community, So I knew in theory, that building on, I knew in theory how to build on Substack. I knew in theory that the conversion rate from free to paid is on average about 5%, but it can be as high as 14%. So it was just really like full universal trust that this was going to work, and this was going to be something that would be very aligned with me and what I wanted to teach, and also very aligned with the people that were finding it. So so I made it happen. And it's been beautiful. And this call was really to celebrate welcoming 10,000 subscribers to Sparkle on Substack, which feels absolutely bananas to say. So I definitely had it as a quiet goal. Like, I've never aggressively tried to grow on Substack. I definitely know how to do that, and I do not do it, right? So my growth is all joyful and sustainable. Everything that I do is like building blocks of joy. Like, if I'm not aligned with it, and I don't want to plug into it, I want to do things that are joyful and that really connect to my creative practice. So for me, it's things like turning up once a month to Susie Walker's Heartleap writing group and writing, connecting with a group of people from all over the world and writing. I love that. It's things like when I talk to my members in our membership calls and one of them says, I'm a bit nervous of Substack Lives, I can say, do you want to go live with me? Should we do that? So it's not about turning away and towards numbers and growth. It's about turning into the people and what they want, and also really fueling my own creative practice has been so, so beautiful. It's been a work in service for sure to the community, and it's also been work that has seen me properly paid. So both things can be true, and I really want to say that as well. So I think, what I encounter a lot is writers and people arriving here that are still very new to wrapping their head around what a subscription model can be. And there are loads of approaches with that. Like I said, I was very open to receiving money for what I was going to do on Substack when I first launched. So I had the paid turned on. But at the same time, once people pay, then you have that shift in kind of focus of, okay, so I've got to create something over here that is either for my paid subscribers or paywalled, or I've got to do a Patreon model, you can decide. But it does shift the energy of you being able to just turn up and pour your heart and soul into a space. It just feels different once something's monetized. So I guess if I was arriving today and I gave this advice just this morning, I think I probably wouldn't turn on paid subscriptions to start with. I think I would just allow myself to understand what I was being called to do. There are always so many layers to self-expression and also to work in service. And I've seen this a lot, like people dress something up as work in service, and actually like it's just to benefit them. And like it's very ego driven, and you just know that exists in the world because it's a shiny thing and people chase it. So I think that it's always been really important for me to like hone into my creative practice and a practice of abundance and gratitude that also aligns with being properly paid. And then as long as those things are true, I feel like I have energy to show up. If I was showing up in a way that was just felt difficult and felt like I was teaching something that was unaligned, I would know straight away. So everything is aligned, everything is fueled by the community, everything is in support of the community. And that's been really, really gorgeous. So I did say that I would get into some of the stuff around what's felt really difficult, as well as the celebratory stuff, because I think it'll be super useful to you guys. And honestly, feel free to ask any questions at all that you have about anything to do with growth, creative practice, showing up on Substack, the amount of time I spend on it. Like, I don't mind. I'm really open to answering anything that you've got. But yeah, the stuff that's felt tricky and difficult has felt so tricky and difficult. Like, when I worked in festivals and events, the main thing that I had to encounter was egos, right? Because it was festivals and events, there were often famous people, artists, film stars, TV personalities, it was all of that world, right? And then we were the people organizing or creative producing or fundraising. So there's a hierarchy, there's always a hierarchy in that world. And that felt like difficult, but also I was used to it, right? My nervous system was used to it. I was used to encountering big personalities. I was used to being able to kind of make sure somebody who was like special and precious got everything that they needed and everything that they wanted, and that's fine. And I think on Substack, like I wasn't prepared for everything happening at the rate that it did, and then having to field some of the negativity. Like that was perhaps the hardest piece of being confident enough to own what I wanted to do online in Substack land, because it's there and people can respond instantly to a thing, and people can be triggered. People can think something's about them when it's not at all, so there's that all of that stuff to navigate. And the first few times it happened, like I just wasn't okay. I just really was not okay. Like it just felt like the end of the world, and it felt like, how am I going to manage more of the same? So now the way that I see that is there's always going to be a percentage of that comes in, but the work that I've done with my coaches and my mentors has enabled me to see that that is just a small part of it, and it will always just be a small part of it. And I know there's no right time for that stuff to creep in. So it might be like you guys have already felt some of that. It might be that you've had a difficult email into your email inbox, a difficult DM. Again, going back to protecting your space and doing what you can for your creative practice is the most important advice that I can share. Because if you've got tight boundaries, my DMs are for paid people only, and I want that. That's the way that I run my business. Because I allow my diamond members to send me DMs, we have that relationship so that I can help them strategically. So for me, it's very clear. And I think with the email inbox as well, as my poster's fallen off the wall, with the email inbox as well, I have learned to just take a breath. Like if somebody comes in and the tone is less than friendly, I'll take a breath and, I won't reply straight away to that email. Nothing's an emergency, even if it's written in the most emergency tone, like red alert, like you need to deal with this right now. I'm so unhappy. You can't put somebody else's unhappiness before yours. So you need to be centered and grounded to be able to deal with whatever's coming in. And people get upset about all sorts of things. So yes, obviously, when we turn on paid subscriptions, we have a Substack business. Like, I think it's really helpful to reframe and think about it that way. It's like, we're not just being paid by like 3, 4, 5, 10 people. Like, you're already a business, right? So you need to work that out and separate yourself out from your Substack business. And then after the breath, when I come back to the email, I am sending the most compassion to that person who has felt like it is okay to reach out in that manner, because I'm a really lovely person online, but also I'm a really lovely person in real life. And if they feel like this is how they have to speak to me in the world, that's really not about me. That's about what they've experienced. Ringing. That's the thing, isn't it, when you do these lives? So I think being able to set something up where you've got your boundaries around refunds, how to do them. If someone's changed their card details and something's happened, there's all sorts of things that can happen. If someone's expectations haven't been met for whatever reason, I've had some, real ones. There's always space to reconfirm and clarify what your space is and what it's for. So, for example, on Sparkle, we've got an archive that's been building for nearly 2 years now. That's super valuable. So the price went up, right? Like that's just true. That's what happens. There's more value, therefore the price is going to be higher. And I guess like with you guys, especially if you're in that place of like having a paid newsletter or having paid subscribers, you maybe haven't thought about things in that way. Like there's so much value in your archive, and people could literally never finish your archive, right? With everything else that they've got to do. So there's loads to think about with that. And again, telling people this is where you find everything, this is how you navigate it. When we invite people onto Substack, there is just a whole load of stress for them, especially if they are not super tech savvy, but even if they are sometimes. And what's been really helpful for me is to do a little screen share of my publication and say, okay, like this is what you do. Welcome, come on in. This is where you go. This is where you can find this. If you're looking at this, if you're brand new, this. And it's so helpful. So it's really cut down my customer service doing that, and it's felt like really nice to do as well. I probably should update it because it's time. But yeah, that's a really useful thing to do, because otherwise you end up answering lots of Substack related questions, especially as you scale and grow. So that's a really important one to kind of, as you're setting out your stall for Substack and you're setting out what Substack is and why you use it, you have to communicate that over to your subscribers, because there's all sorts. Like, I used a survey for a client this week, and then it was trying to kind of email them codes, and then they were emailing me being like, oh, why do we have to have like a Substack account? And it was like, oh yeah, for what? And they've got to like, yeah, they've got to be on Substack, right? They can't fill in the survey like you would just be able to fill in a Google form. It's just, there's not that option. So I'm always learning. But yeah, I'd forgotten that piece, that they actually need to be registered with Substack to do that. And it's a crowd that definitely aren't registered with Substack. So Substack are going to get a whole new load of registrations. But anyway, so yeah, managing expectations is another good one to really connect to and think about in terms of people arriving. And this also puts you in that frame of mind as well, where you're reminded to think about the individual reader, the individual person. So all of this stuff of like, oh, I got 20,000 new subscribers from one note. Well, blimey. I mean, that's great, but that must have been a lot of work. That's what I feel, because every time a post's done really well, and I don't mean like really well, like it's gone off the map, 100,000 views or anything. I just mean that it's had maybe double the amount of views than normal. That's a lot of work. Like, that filters down to be quite a lot of work. Sometimes it's, of course, replying to comments and stuff like that. But other times people have got questions and they want to know things. You know, it's Substack's new to them. They want to understand what subscriptions mean. Substack will send a subscription renewal reminder email, the amount of people that miss that. And then they're in touch being like, oh, actually, like, I can't afford to renew, or I wasn't going to renew, or I'd really love to renew, but can I have a break? You know, and then we are the publication owners that have to kind of manage all of that stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to share some of that stuff about growing. I should also talk about imposter syndrome and comparisonitis. Like, they're just two massive topics that are going to rear their ugly head. Like, if I had a membership off Substack and what I was doing to deliver that was logging onto my membership portal and speaking to my members, that would be a whole different experience than having to be on Substack as much as I am. So I've had to have really clear boundaries about who I am subscribed to and who I'm not subscribed to. I think at the beginning, you know, there was only really me and one other person educating about Substack. There wasn't all these people that there are now. And so that felt like a really fun time to be colleagues and to be able to support each other out, and to help each other out and support each other, and to also really lean into, okay, like, you're in this space and this is really who's attracted to working with you, and I'm in this space and this is really who's attracted to working with me. So it helps with messaging. But I think now, like, I just can't see it. So you'll know, and you know, if you guys know about human design, there's definitely stuff within your specific human design that can be very helpful. So my human design coach is Lauren Barber. She's amazing. Shout out to Lauren. She's so good. You can also follow Leanne McDonald, who is also amazing and used to be my neighbor. Both of them talk about human design in wildly different ways, but they're both really, really brilliant in service to us understanding what we're feeling in regards to plugging into energy online. It's very, very helpful. So I know that I just need to mute all of that stuff. And also, you know, the people that want to be helpful to say, oh, have you heard about this person? Like, she's doing that over here. It's not actually that helpful to me, because I don't need to learn anything else that there is to learn about Substack. I just need to show up for my business and for my clients. So if someone's having notes go viral over here and I'm not, that's just going to make me feel like I've missed something, right? So it just can be very confusing. So I think if there's writers and people that you appreciate and you want to see in your notes feed, that's glorious. If there's people where it makes you feel like a tiny bit, and you'll know what I mean, it's just a bit like you just need to mute them. Like, it's so much kinder. Like, do not be kind to them. They don't mind. Like, mute them. Think about yourself. Be kind to yourself, because you're going to create your best work when you are not seeing any of that stuff. You're logging on to write your posts, you know, to show up wholeheartedly and do that work. And then you're servicing your customers, your paid subscribers, your members, however you set that up. And then if you want to go and have a lovely scroll and that feels good, you can definitely do that. And I taught more of this in the Joyful Growth Challenge. It closes tomorrow. It's totally free. So have a look if you want to have a look at more videos on that stuff. But I just think it's so important to mention, I'm definitely not immune to feeling triggered on the internet. I don't know if anybody could be. I think it's a tool that we use to make the best work that we can, but there is so much influence. And I think we just need to be really careful about what we're influenced by, and if it's a positive influence or if it's not. So because Substack has always promoted generosity, reciprocity, and gratitude, I definitely experienced a swell of that when I first started Sparkle. The team at Substack were very supportive. I had a call with them. They were just like, you're doing brilliant work. That was like so lovely to speak to them. There's a member of the team been on my podcast, Linda. She's awesome. She's just an awesome human in her own right. And she said some really cool things about how people are using Substack and how Substack works. So, all of that stuff's possible. It doesn't feel like we're working for and within a big faceless organization, or we're working within an organization that keep changing things and pulling the rug. That said, platforms are going to platform, aren't they? So, there is that little bit where you have to know that the business you run as part of your Substack is only part of the business that you have as an overall personal brand or an overall limited company, or however you set it up. And I think it's really important to just keep that bird's eye view on where Substack fits with everything else. So there's a class that I did. I think it's just called Your Creative and Business Ecosystem with Substack. So it's about how Substack fits in the bigger picture of your business. And I've seen people rip off my language already. Thanks very much, guys. Like, this is always my thing. I'm just like, yay. Like, I've found this language that feels really good to me and my members. Deliver the class, like, brilliant, really successful, everyone's happy, and then I'll see someone else on Substack using nearly the exact same words. So I'm just like, mute, no, I'll carry on, like, I'll do my thing here. So it's there for you guys as an active service, and I think it is really good to be thinking about that and thinking about that as we build and as we nurture the audience. You also want to be in your dashboard, right? So you want to be having a look, okay, like, what are the open rates? What are the delivery rates? Like, last week's challenge was only getting a 75% delivery rate. So I switched and I was sending emails from the subscriber tab rather than posts published into the Substack website. And that was a really smart move because people were messaging me saying they weren't getting the emails. So that felt really good to do, to be able to feel like I'm more in control of being able to run something and run it really well. We always have that option to use the emails from the subscriber tab, and it is a really, really good option. So it's going to override smart notifications. But, if you're anything like me, like 91% of my audience still read in the emails. So they don't use the app. I've got 9% using the app. So it's still relatively low numbers. So you're essentially sending emails every time. You can check your stats on that. But I think just making sure that people have had the opportunity to see what you publish is really important. People miss things all the time. If you have a busy publication like I do a monthly roundup and I say, here's some things you might have missed. As an active service, like, I'm not bothering anyone. People have asked for that. So I think that's really important, to just really get into your dashboard and see what's happening. While I'm in dashboard, there are always periods of growth and periods of stagnation in any membership. So, like, if we take it outside of Substack, for example, running a membership, like, you just need a lot of stamina. So running a paid subscription model, you need a lot of stamina. And within that, you need to give yourself a break. So you need to say to your subscribers, okay, it's between 2 and 3 emails a month, right? Instead of I'm publishing every week. You need to say, I take the month of August off, or I'm going to be off for 3 weeks at Christmas. Like, you just set that stuff out, and then that you have that there. That said, there are always ways to publish stuff when you are away. So, you can have guest posts, you can bring an old post back to life, you can cross-post something that someone else has published on your behalf, like a podcast or something. So there are always loads and loads of ways with that. But I do think that we need to model the way that we want things to be in our own business and our own Substack. So it can feel like a bit of a runaway train. And I definitely have fallen victim to that sometimes. So because my growth, well, it's just been incredible. Like, it's been absolutely incredible. And in the bits where it was stagnant, it was almost like I was looking at it and just feeling like, I don't know what's wrong. Like I've done something wrong, or I'm not doing something right, or I don't know. And actually, I probably just needed a break. So I think where I've tried to push through and go, no, no, it's okay. Like I've got the energy, like I can do it. I probably needed to just say to myself and to everybody else, okay, like I'm going to take an unexpected couple of weeks off. Like I'm just feeling like things aren't flowing, and I want to make sure that I'm 100% aligned in my energy. So because life happens outside of Substack, some of those things are hard to know. Like we lost my husband's best friend last year. He died by suicide. And you think, okay, like I've got it, we've had the funeral, we're all fine. Like we just weren't fine. Like I was not fine for months. And I was still showing up with a massive smile on my face, like doing my work, because that's what we're told to do as a society. And I can see now that I could have been a little bit easier on myself with that stuff. Also, after the book came out last year, so I have this co-authored book, How to Build a World-Class Substack. You can get this wherever you get your books. I co-authored it with Russell Noelty, who I met on Substack, and I'm going to be at the Writer MBA conference next month in New Orleans. I'm so excited to speak to people and be in New Orleans and go for some lunches with folks. So after the book had come out, again, my kids were just getting back into school, and I was like, right, we've done the big book project. We'll get back into everything, but I was feeling a bit stunned. So I think, I'm so used to delivering events and delivering festivals and delivering projects, but the whole reason that I moved my life online with everything that I was doing with work was like, so I could have a break and things could be a little bit more chill. So reminding ourselves that yes, the internet doesn't sleep, but we can, that we can take time off, we can take downtime, we can have a look at how things are working and just take more time in terms of like the editorial that we want to do on our own publications. Just because we've started something and we wanted to finish it doesn't mean it's the right thing. So sometimes we can kind of get that feedback as we're going. Yeah, I feel like I'm just talking a lot. I know somebody put a question in earlier, so let me scroll back up. I've got loads more to say, but so Izzy is saying, read delivery rates. Would you recommend posting to web only, then emailing subscribers with the link instead of publishing both email and web? So super interesting. Yeah, you can definitely do it that way round. So with the Joyful Growth Challenge, there was a little bit of chat, and then it was like, and also here are the links, or it's all on a tag. So I was like, here's the tag. So I think I maybe embedded one post. The thing is, if emails are struggling to get through because email service providers change all the time, so there's just been like another shift with Google, the best thing to do is just have it plain text. So no links, no photos, no images, and just send it out. And I know that can feel counterintuitive, especially when we're kind of working with our creative practice, and our creative practice might be to put images in and to invite people in and do different things. But if you are having serious problems, then that would be what to do, just to try and get through those filters, because once you're through once and somebody opens it, then it triggers that you can that's a safe place to be. Okay. Okay, saying that's so frustrating how people easily lift the copy. Yeah, and part of it is, you can be gracious and think, okay, that person's just really inspired, but because everything I do is 100% aligned with my members and my own creative practice, I guess that's where it's frustrating, because I am a projector in human design, so I just see the way that things can be and I want to put that out. But quite often it can be that other people follow projectors because they're just a little bit ahead in their thinking, and they're like, oh, she knows what to do, she's already figured it out. And so they'll pass it off as their own, and they're like, look what I figured out. And it's like, well, but you didn't figure it out, did you? You paid for my membership and then you told people that you figured it out anyway. It's fine, we're fine. I'm just sharing because this is what this is. A big old share session, a big old therapy share session. I mean, that's the other thing I should say. I do go to therapy regularly, so I'm fine. I don't often talk about Substack in my therapy, but it definitely has come up before. I just think the pace of the internet is wild. There's so much, and there are so many different portals. Like just now, I have auto paywall on Sparkle and Substack, so I think I've set it to 2 months, because I was finding that there was comments from something like 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 weeks ago, today, and they were pulling me in lots of different directions, because I love to respond to comments, because for me that is the start of a conversation, and that feels really important to witness somebody. But I know when my energy is getting low, because it's like, oh, they're all over the place. And actually it's like, what was that post, what was I saying in that post that how to get back into it. So for now, it's one of the ways that I turn the tap off. So the other way that I turn the tap off is to turn off monthly membership. So I'm doing that because I'm going to New Orleans and I'll be on holiday and stuff. So I really want to just turn off the tap for monthly members. It's not that it's loads of admin, but if somebody is stuck, they're going to DM, they're going to email, and I just need to kind of slow the tap, steady the flow on all of that. So I quite often do that. I also turn off my founding membership. So there are usually windows of time that's open. So it's open at the moment, but it's going to be closing again just because I've got a lot of deliverables on that. I do a Substack audit, my DMs are open. Like, we have amazing chats about strategy when it comes to launching, adjusting strategy for paid subscriptions. We have chats about how to climb the leaderboard, how to increase gross annualized revenue. Like, it's all in there, but like, I really want to be 100% aligned and ready to meet those people and not overworked and stressed. So yeah, that's really good to do. Let me know if you guys have got more questions. I should also show you my Substack cap. So this is what happens when you work on Substack. It says, "I'm Claire doing Substack things." I just find it absolutely hilarious. So my mum's partner bought me that for Christmas, and it was just the most hilarious part of Christmas Day, because he doesn't really, he's in his 70s, like, he doesn't really understand Substack or what I do, and has asked a few sort of key questions. But the fact that he was thoughtful enough to buy me a cap to wear, on the live call or just laugh about, was just really sweet. And I think that it is a mystery, isn't it? And we're all figuring it out. We're all working out what it is that we want from our Substack experience, from our publishing, from our newsletter, from our communities, from our Substack chat. There's just so many different parts to it, and you can add in and turn off whenever you feel like it. So yeah, so I really wanted to share that. I think a lot of my success is being able to know that subscriptions are forever until people turn them off, and they're coming in all the time. So we as publication owners have to know when to steady the flow, turn the tap off. I'm a mum to 2 young children, like, they're my priority. So I have to be able to balance everything within my Substack world. Yeah. I think one of the things I wanted to share with you guys as well is how many beautiful surprises have been part of my Substack experience. So, writing the book with Russell was a total surprise. He asked me in, I think it was February or March last year, and then the book was finished by May, and then it was out. We were posting it out in September, and now it's just wherever anybody gets their books. And I wasn't expecting that, it was a beautiful thing to have happened. It was a difficult thing to do in lots of ways, but it was really cool to do. And there's been lots of other collaborations as well that have just been, just very, very uplifting. Not a world that I would have found myself in if it wasn't for Substack. I feel like everybody that I've asked to come on my podcast has been very warm and open to that, and that's been really beautiful to do too. So it feels like within one hub, I've had so many different experiences of connection with different types of people, from online business owners to artists and creatives to writers to best-selling authors. And it feels really awesome to present those to my audience in that podcast and say, hey, this person over here is doing it like that, and look at this person over here. So that's felt very cool. It's been very interesting to be part of the rise in Substack as well. When we were first talking about it, not many people have heard about it, but then there are still lots of people that haven't heard of it yet. So I think even now, what we see is a relatively pleasant experience on Notes and a very kind experience in the comments. And that feels nice, doesn't it, to be still building while all of that is going on and people are very generous and have time for you. I also feel like, there's a lot of intelligent people here, like people that have really sophisticated thoughts, that I really want to lean into and listen to and chat with. And that feels like a very different internet experience, I think, to other platforms and stuff. So yeah. Okay, have you guys got any other questions before I finish? Just having a look to see if you guys do. You're welcome to type something. I did want to touch on what's been possible for me in terms of where the growth's come from. So sometimes you'll find people have built big platforms elsewhere, or there's been like something that's gone viral and that's enabled them to have lots of new subscribers. So for me, it's been my creative practice, which I've already mentioned. So showing up in a way that feels really aligned and meeting my members and my paid subscribers on Creatively Conscious in service. So Sparkle on Substack, definitely holding it as a membership and like making sure that that is adequately resourced. So people have the resources to succeed and like do what they want to do. And then adding in classes and that sort of thing as well. So that's definitely been a lot of it. And then the recommendations tool for me on Substack has just been absolutely life changing. So because in my membership I teach using a practice with recommendations, so it's a gratitude practice, it's a reciprocity practice, it's a practice of abundance that we do every single month at the start of the month. So the practice is, and I'll teach it to you quickly now, is that we will head into recommendations, we'll see who the new recommendations are and really receive the gratitude that somebody has taken the time to press that button and recommend our work to their followers, friends, subscribers, readers, people. And then we will have a look at the Substacks that we recommend. If we've not written a blurb, then we'll think about, okay, like, am I ready now? Because it can take a while to be ready to write a blurb for somebody. You know, I guess the example of having authors being asked to write blurbs for books, like they've got to read the book, right? They've got to read the whole book. We can't read the whole of somebody's Substack, but we can read 3 to 5 articles really in a very conscious way and really understand what it is that they are here to do and say and who they want to hold, and we can write a really kind blurb for them, and that's beautiful. And then if we do that little bit of work and we have come across other writers or creators that we want to recommend, we just press that recommend button. Lovely. What a beautiful thing. Somebody gets an email that says, Claire Venus at Sparkle on Substack has recommended your publication. I can't tell you the amount of times that people email back and they're like, I can't believe you did that. And I'm like, of course. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I? Like, for me, I just feel like hierarchies are dying, like, and we have to be the ones that smash them. Like, honestly, like, I'm so over it. Like, I am not like on Substack to get 100,000 subscribers. That's a lot of work. Like, I'm on Substack to meet my members where they're at. And obviously, those members, once they have done the work with me that they want to do, they'll go off and do what they want to do separately from me. Like, they might want to stay in the Sparkle community, of course. Like, there's so much value in that. But when I first started Sparkle, it wasn't like trying to cling on to everybody and trying to like climb this huge tree. No, it was like show up in service, give people what they need, create a community, create space for collaborations, help people heal their voice, you know, because there's a lot of that work that we have to do. You know, we feel all of the things that we feel in terms of our voice on the internet. It's a lot, you know, especially as women. Like, there's a whole female line where we just weren't allowed the voice that we have today, which now we can. So yeah, I just think with recommendations, it's about absolute and the purest form of gratitude that you have within your creative practice, and that builds over time. So, like, where I am now, I was able to feel the 10,000 subscriber celebration, and it's now like nearly 10,500. And I've been meaning to do this for like a week or so. So I was able to feel the energy of all of the people that had helped me get there, and also know that I had sent that lift all over the place. It's not even back down. It's like all over the place, sideways, upwards. You know, I just felt all of that. And if we don't, then what do we feel? Like, what do we feel if another 100 subscribers come? Like, what do those numbers actually do? Like, what is that? There's always going to be somebody with more numbers than you. It's just the way the internet is. You know, you want to go on Instagram and see someone with 1 million followers, 2 million followers, you know, the royals come. It's just like, why would you? You know, why would you aim towards celebrity when you can aim towards reciprocity and connection? We're here for such a short time. And I feel like no other social media has given us recommendations. So why would we limit that? Like, what would be the sense in limiting any of that? Because it's going to stunt not only our growth, but also our understanding of how we are seen in the land of Substack in terms of who's arriving and who's recommending us. But also, it's going to put us in a place where, and I've had this, like, and I will talk about it, it is awkward and I do feel cringe. But, you know, the first time someone called me the queen of Substack, like, I just closed my phone and I couldn't speak. And like 5 minutes later, my husband was like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't think I am. I don't think I am. Like, I don't know how to wear this crown. Like, I don't know what this means. Like, I don't know how to be that person. I've always been the person supporting the people, right? The famous people, the actors, the artists. Like, I don't know I don't know what that is, like how to do any of that. But then look, it's fine. I just have to wear this one. So it's the same. The same but less glamorous. Turns out that was my crown after all, a cap. No, sorry, I'm digressing. So it can feel really uncomfortable to receive praise. So this is one of the things that I worked on in my therapy. Because we don't have anywhere for it to land, so there's a whole load of tracking back, and it can also make people really hungry for more, so like a hungry ghost, because it's insatiable, right? The praise, you just want more, you want more subscribers, more praise, all of that. We're not doing that. What we're doing is being grateful and being really aligned with the people that we can support and be kind to. There's always that opportunity. So the same goes for notes. I'm not going to talk about notes today because I'm going to wrap up, but I have done videos on notes before. And I feel like once we've curated our feed and we've muted everything out that we don't want to see, just go pour the love in, guys. I mean, God, like, it's amazing in there. There's so many incredible writers. There's people trying their voice out for the first time. There's people who feel really awkward about being there. Like, just pour the love in, because it all comes back tenfold. I get very idealistic about things, but this is just who I am as a person, and it works. So yeah. Okay. So Mary's saying, I have followers, love the reciprocity model, interested in recommendations, how to spread my writing with other folk who might be interested. Yeah, so the followers thing, I will speak to followers. So I just think when Substack introduced following, we were all like, oh, like, please no, like, we don't need this, we don't want this, we don't understand this. And I ignored it for like the longest time, like, well, in internet time, probably it was about a month, 2 months, but I just was like, I don't know what this is, why we've got it. It's another button to press, it's another thing to negotiate. Whereas actually now, because I am at my reading limit, so like I said in the beginning, like, I have the reading for pleasure, like, it's part of my creative practice, it's part of my joy. I love reading people's work. So because I have that, if someone says something interesting on notes and I'm on there, I'm definitely going to follow them for more. So I usually go and see like what they've posted in the last 3 or 4 notes. And if it's really resonant, because I want that feed to be really exciting and vibrant. So there's no follow for follows. Like, I don't know who follows me. I don't look at that stuff because I'm here in service to my members and in service to my community. So with follows, it's just like I just let all the noise blend into the background. And some of it is just untrue. Like, there's so much bonkers stuff. Like, I have 3 main publications on Substack. So as a writer, I can only have like the follows that are attached to my publications, my writer profile. Each publication can't have followers because it's the writer profile that gets the follows. But if you go into the dashboard of those publications, it will tell me how many followers I've got, but it's not like, that's not accurate. Like, it's just not true, because the follows are within my writer profile, like they're following me and my notes, not the notes of my publication. Like, it doesn't make any sense. So when I was doing the Joyful Growth Challenge, I've had that publication for a while and I used it for something else, but when I added it to my writer profile, and you'll see this, I went in the back office and Substack told me that I'd had 13,000 followers in a day. I definitely didn't. That just didn't happen. The publication was already there and the followers were already attached to my writer profile. So my writer profile has over 20,000 followers because everybody that's ever subscribed is attached as a follower, unless they decide to unfollow, unsubscribe. And then there's obviously the extras in there. But when I go on notes, it feels no different at all writing a note now than when it did when the notes first came out. Like, it's no different. It's not like I've got 20,000 people that I'm speaking to on notes. No way. Like, it's algorithmically driven. It's whoever's going to be on there, like pressing a like, and then obviously Substack let it carry along for a few days if it does well. But it was better when it first came out, to be honest, for me. So I just think the whole thing's bonkers. And I think it's a tool of mass distraction, but it's a tool that will service Substack's investors. And that's what you guys really have to know, because obviously Substack, to be sustainable and to do the work that they want to do in the world and to give us everything that we have as tools, as editors, have to have investors. And those investors want things. And one of those things is commodities, people, followers, things, money. So I just think hold it lightly, do your best work inside your publication. Know that there is opportunity to go viral on notes, but it's like playing the lottery. Like you've got to be there and, you've got to be like studying it a little bit and understanding what's going on. But the real joy, like the real connection, is in that space of your publication, is in the collaborations, it's in the community, it's doing the work to heal what it is that you want to say, that you're here to do. All of that work is possible inside of our publications when we quiet the social media noisy noise. So yeah. Okay. Okay. Good. Okay, so I'll probably end it there for my celebration. It was really nice to do this. I felt a bit strange about trying to come on and talk about celebrating 10,000 subscribers, but I also wanted to show up in service to you guys and use lives because Substack's given us that. So if you want to listen again, it'll be attached to my podcast where you can listen wherever you get your podcasts. So it'll be on Spotify and Apple as well if you do want to listen there. If you are listening on those platforms, you can head right back into Substack and watch the video on Substack. And I think that's probably all I want to say. If there's anything else that you guys need, head over to Sparkle on Substack. I am there for your joyful, sustainable growth, and I've trained my community to do that work too. So it is just a joyous place to be. There is no competition. Everybody is so open-hearted and friendly and just really wants everybody to do well on Substack and to find what it is that you're here to do. So thank you again. It's been an absolute joy. I still can't really believe it, but here we are. I'll probably go and pop a party popper or something like that now. See you soon, guys. Take care.